everyone, welcome to a class of Math with Miss Nicky. Today we're going to be talking about incomplete quadratic equations. Okay, I know that you all know what is a quadratic equation, but let's refresh your mind. Refresquemos su memoria. An equation, a quadratic equation, it's a polynomial of grade 2, de grado 2. This is the main form of a quadratic equation. 8x squared plus bx plus c, in which a, b, and c are coefficients or constants, son constantes, they are numbers, and x to the square, and x are variables. This is the main form, okay? But we can have an incomplete quadratic equation when one of these terms is missing. The a term cannot be missing, okay? This one, if you don't have an x squared, we do not have a quadratic equation. So the a term, el primer término, the a, does not have to be a, 0. So this one, we're going to get to the conclusion that a has not to be equal to 0, okay? So which term, if a is not the one that is missing in the incomplete form, which one are they missing? Well, we can have b equals to 0, or we can have that c is equal to 0. And we're going to see the two ways how we're going to solve these equations if we don't have the b or if we don't have the c. So let's start with the b equals to 0. Imagine that we have an equation in which I have 2x squared minus 12. 12 is the coefficient c. 2x to the square is ax squared, but we do not have a bx in here. We do not have it. So what do we do? Well, we're going to solve this equation by isolating the x. What is isolating the x? Isolating means that we are going to leave the x alone. Vamos a dejar la x sola. How do we do that? Well, in this operation we have two parts. We have this part from here to here, and we have this part from here to here. The equal sign is the one that is telling us where one part begins or ends. So what do we want to do? We want to leave this x in one side, and in the other side we're going to have a number. Now, what are we going to do first? Well, let's write it here. To isolate the x, there is something that you need to know. One, every single time we take a positive to the other side, it will turn a negative as a negative. If I have a negative, it would be a positive. If I have a multiplication, it would be a division. And if I have a division, it would be a multiplication. Okay? That is something that you need to know. So, what am I going to do first? I'm going to pass this 12 to this side. How do I do that? Well, I write my first part of the equation equal, because this is going to disappear from this side and is going to go to this side. So, equal to 12. Positive 12, because remember, if I have a negative in this side, I am going to have it as a positive in the other side. There you go. But now I have, oh my god, look at that. I have 2x squared. It's together. Está todo junto. Well, this 2 isn't like I am multiplying. Es como que estoy multiplicándolo by this variable. So that means that if I have a multiplication in this side, in the other side I'm going to have a division. How do I express that? ¿Cómo expreso esto? Well, I will write x squared, because the 2 is going to disappear, is equal to 12. And this one that is multiplying at this side is going to be dividing this 12. There you go. Now, we have over there 12 divided by 2. Now, how do we do the rest of this? We can do two things. Actually, we can do it in the order that you want, but it's easier if you solve this part first and then we take this power. Because what we want to do, we want to leave x alone. Only the x, not with the 2. Okay? How much is it? 12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is going to be 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. So having this is the same as having 6. So x squared is equal to 6. Very good. Now, how do we get rid of the second power? ¿Cómo nos deshacemos de ese numerito? Well, it's kind of easy. Every single time that we have a number multiplied a power of 2, we can get rid of it by doing a square root on the other side. That means that if I have x here and I want to leave it alone, I'm going to have the other number in a square root. I think that that's going to the program. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Square root of 6. But now, if I have a square root, that means that I will have two different solutions. One of these is going to be positive. That is going to be called x1 is equals to positive. Is going to be x1 is going to be positive square root of 6, and x2 is going to be equal to negative square root of 6. So that is going to be our solution by isolating the x. And that's it. Easy, simple. Okay, so I wrote it like in better order here, but it's the same. At the ending, we're going to have that if we have a root of a number, that root has to be negative and positive. Something important here, the negative sign does not go inside the root, it goes outside. If you have a negative sign inside the root, it's not going to be okay. So, that is how you solve if we don't have b. Así es como resolvemos si no tenemos b in the normal form of the quadratic equation. Now, what do we do if we are not missing b? We are missing c. Si nos falta la c en vez de la b. This one. Remember that the c is the number in that equation that does not have a variable. We cannot do this, the same of this, because we are going to have two different terms that we cannot isolate from them. Because we have an x to the second power and we have x to the first power. So we cannot do the isolation. So the first thing that we're going to do is a common factor. And how do we do that? Well, we're going to take the common factor of this equation. In this case, is the letter x, or the variable x. That means that we're going to have x. And what would I do? ¿Qué haría yo if I already have an x here and I want to get this term? Well, I am going to multiply it by 2x, but not a square x. I'm just going to leave it like that because remember that these terms, they have to add, and 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Now, to the other term, what do I do if I want to get this term? I just put the number 8 plus 8. And that means that x is multiplied by 8 gives us 8x. That is the thing that means. So now that I have that equation, I am going to say that one of my answers, I'm always going to have two answers, okay? This one I have a positive and a negative. And in this one of my answers is going to be 0. So x is going to be 0. And in the other one, I am going to take this equation, this first equation that I get here, and I'm going to isolate the letter x because now I can do it. So I'm going to have 2x plus 8 equals to 0. Why do I am saying that? I am saying that because I have one term here and one term here. This term is equal to 0 and these terms are equal to 0. Okay? So now that I have this that is equal to 0, I can do the isolation for x. What do I do first? I pass the number 8 to the other side. So I will have 2x is equal to 8. But negative or positive? Because I have it positive here. So when it goes to the other side, it's going to be a negative 8. Now what do? I want to take the number 2. So I can leave the x alone. X is equal to negative 8 between or divided by 2. And if I do that division, I'm going to get that x is equal to negative 4. So I have my two answers. One that x is equal to negative 4 and the other one that x is equal to 0. And in here I have two answers too. x1 is equal to root of 6 and x2 is equal to negative root of 6. So that is how you complete or how you solve to an incomplete quadratic equation, guys. Easy piece of cake. So, good work.